Welcome to the show for baseball fans by baseball fans. DingerBats.com presents Full Count, the podcast. Now here are your hosts, Keith Gibson and DingerBats owner, Kyle Drone.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Full Count. I am your host, Keith Gibson, alongside me, my co-host, good friend, and owner of Dinger Bats, Kyle Drone. Welcome to another show. Kyle Drone, it's getting closer to the end of baseball season. We've had a flurry of history, a flurry of things going on, and hopefully those bats are still getting twisted out of the lathe and the Dinger label put on there and keeping you busy.
Yeah, we're definitely cranking them out still. You know, we had some equipment issues this week, so it's been a little trying, but we got it all ironed out and caught back up. So I think we're good.
Well, that's a good thing. Got to keep you on your toes. That's all that is, you know, keeping you on your toes.
Yeah.
Hey, we got a lot to talk about this week. We're going to dive back into something we kind of ended the show with last week, and that's a proposed, almost like a salary cap in Major League Baseball that they want in the next CBA. So we're going to dive into that and talk about which teams will need to make big adjustments and who doesn't. So we'll dive into that here early in the show. Later on in the show, we're going to talk about, well, your boy did it. We talked about it a little last week. Yadier signed his extension quickly with the Cardinals this year. So we'll dive into that and see what repercussions come of that and who else could sign an extension and be around. So we'll get into that a little bit later, so stick around for that. We're also going to dive into the 500 Home Run Club, as Miguel Cabrera did that this past week, and join that prestigious company and talk about, really dive into, will we see it again? Because, you know, I got to thinking, Kyle, we may not, but we'll definitely dive into that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's a lot of guys that potentially can, but, you know, the way they're you know, having these injuries shortened season, I mean, I don't see a lot of potential with them.
Yeah, I'll throw some names at you and see what you think there as a little later in the show. Well, so stick around for that, and then we'll talk about the course of playoff races. A lot of things changing, a lot of things starting to spread out like a buffet almost. Kyle Drone, I love a good buffet, but yeah, we'll get dive into that too. But are you ready to get things started here on Full Count, the podcast on a Saturday morning from DingerBats.com and on 103.5 ESPN Radio?
Absolutely.
All right, let's go around the horn, Kyle Drone. Let's talk salary cap. As we talked last week as we closed the show, Major League Baseball is wanting to put on a possible, not necessarily calling it a salary cap, but a floor, if you will, for a team salary. And they're wanting to lower the threshold down to $180 million from $220. So me being the guy that I am, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So I wanted to do some research, and I did some, believe it or not, quite a bit. So let's talk about this. We said last week, you know, there was 12 teams who are under that $100 million threshold. My notes, let's go over this. All right, let's start with the bottom tier. The Cleveland Indians have the lowest team payroll in all of Major League Baseball at $48 million. How do you expect to even contend for a division when you have that low a payroll?
Oh, it's tough.
The Orioles are at $52 million. Pirates at $54 and the Marlins at $57. If you notice, the bottom payrolls here are also on the bottoms of the divisions, which makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Here's where it gets interesting. That next tier that are under $100 million, the Rays at $70 million, the Mariners at $81, the Royals at $84, Tigers at 85, and the A's and Diamondbacks at 88. So, you got a Rays team who's leading the division with a payroll of $70 million. So it can be done, which is typical for them. You have a Mariners team at 81 who, for most of the season, has been contending for a wild card berth. Then you have the Royals, Tigers, who just haven't put it together and you know, still have a decent payroll. Diamondbacks and A's at 88. Now you have two total different sections here of ball clubs when you talk about the Diamondbacks and A's. The A's have been contending all year long. The Diamondbacks haven't contended for 6 years.
Right.
The worst record, one of the worst records in baseball. So the last two that are under $100 million for a team payroll are the Brewers and the Rangers. Once again, two total ends of the spectrum there, with the Brewers at $97 million and the Rangers at $95. These teams are all going to have to be over, if this would pass, over $100 million as a team payroll. And you kind of got into it a little bit last week, Kyle, so I want to get a little bit more now that we know those 12 teams and where they're at.
Right.
Those teams are going to have to make a lot of adjustments, especially that lower half, to get over that $100 million.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and obviously they need to to compete to some degree anyway. I think that second tier, they're on the verge of the 100 million, so that's not really going to affect them that much. Most of their guys are probably up for, new contracts or extensions anyway, and they're going to get a little more money. So that pretty much, covers that. But that lower tier is going to have to be brought up. And I thought about it over the week, and I see where Major League Baseball is trying to go with it. They're basically just trying to create more parity, I think, across the league. But nobody's been afraid of the 220 million salary cap and the tax they have to pay there. So I don't think 180 is going to scare them anyway. So all it's going to do is bring the lower teams up. And if they're not willing to jump that up to the 150 plus, or figure out how to do it, like the Oakland A's do it, like the Tampa Bay Rays have been doing it, and Milwaukee, which Milwaukee surprises me that theirs is that low, actually. I mean, obviously with Moneyball with Oakland, we knew they would be around there. And, Tampa, they've just been kind of a surprise, with what they've been doing the last couple of years, I think.
Well, they've got so much young talent. When that young talent kind of comes up for arbitration and gets ready to get in their free agent years, they ship them off for more young talent. And that's, I think, how they do to keep their payroll down, which is great. And if you can get away with it and compete every year, I would do the same thing without a doubt. I mean, they're at $70 million. They're on top of the AL East above two large, very large salaried teams, which we'll get to here in a second. And but yeah, good kudos for them and kudos for the A's. I see what you're saying with the parity, but is parity good for baseball? I mean, if you want to see the same thing every day and day out, I think you're not going to have that dominant team because you're not going to be able to get to it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes total sense. And I'm just stating that as I think that's what they're shooting for. I don't think that's good for the game. I'm more, for the team spending. Unfortunately, a lot of the teams can't afford it. And they're just constantly going to be in the cellar, whether you raise them to 100 million. So now they're either going to be overpaying the same players, or they're going to just get a few extra stars to get to that point, but it's not going to be enough to push them over.
Right. So just to share with everybody, the league average this season in 2021 for a team payroll is $130,246,733. So right there at $130,000. Now there's quite a few teams that are in that between the 100 million and the 180, because 180 now would be the threshold before you start having to pay luxury tax, which also would go up to 25%. So the team's over 180 million this year, and this actually surprised me there weren't more, but there isn't. The Angels are right at 180 million. Of course, they haven't really paid Shohei yet what he's worth, so let's just keep that in mind as well. The Red Sox are at 181 million. Now these stats are after trade deadline. These are from last Sunday, as updated as possible. The Phillies are at 183. Makes sense. I mean, yeah, who they got. The Astros at 191. Makes sense.
Okay. Yep.
Mets at 198 million. The Yankees at 203. So the Yankees are above the 200 million threshold. Then you have the Dodgers. My friend, would you like to guess what the Dodgers team payroll is as of this week?
It's over 203.
It is over 203. It is $267 million as a team payroll. And there's some other numbers behind it, but I rounded it. So you're talking about the very top of the ladder, the Dodgers at 267. You're talking the very bottom of the ladder with the Cleveland Indians at $48 million. That's a difference, ladies and gentlemen, of $219 million. And then you wonder why the Dodgers are where they're at and the Indians are where they're at. Now, mind you, there's different revenues coming in from different places for both those teams. So, I mean, the Indians aren't a large market team. They're in Cleveland. I mean, who wants to go to Cleveland?
Mm-hmm.
Not me.
It's a great town, by the way.
That's what you keep saying.
I love Cleveland.
That's what you keep saying. I've never been to Cleveland. I never have.
Have you ever been? Get there. Get there sometime. Watch a game there. It's a great ballpark, great downtown area. It's a nice town.
Well, they started spending money. But anyway, back to the point was that's a huge difference between 267 and 48, though. So you really can't compete equally if you're not going to have even that much distance between them. I don't mind that.
No, for sure.
And then the Dodgers are going to pay out the wazoo in luxury tax with this season, and they don't care. But that's the problem is they don't care. So how high can you actually go? I mean, where's the limit on this? Because there's got to be some cap of how high you actually can go over the threshold. Does that make sense to me? To me, that has to be part of the next CBA.
Yeah, I mean, right. Yeah, no, I mean, if you want to get more parity, you have to bring that salary cap to a hard salary cap. You can't allow them to pay the taxes because, I mean, I don't know exactly, but I feel like the Dodgers got like a $3 billion, TV deal. And, with that, that's going to cover a lot of that extra tax.
You're exactly, yeah, that's a big difference. They've got their own TV station. The Yankees have their own. The Mets got their own. The Cubs started theirs, and it's awful. Awful, people. Marquee is awful. Even as a Cub fan, I dislike it a lot, mainly because I can't get it, because they didn't market it well and they wasn't ready to go. But whatever, that's a whole different story. So those are teams, and none of those are a surprise to me that they're over that $180 million threshold. I think you could see, 6 of 8 of those teams probably get under 180 and be okay still.
Right.
And maybe even 7 of 8 of those teams stay under the threshold there too. So let's talk about the teams that are in between those. You're talking about the Padres, the Giants, the Cardinals, Blue Jays, Nationals, Braves, Cubs, White Sox, Reds, Twins, and Rockies. All those teams are between $100 million and the $180 million.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have to do diddly squat if this would go through. They can stay right where they're at. So what incentive do they have to change anything they're doing? Become better?
Yeah, I mean, they definitely want to try to become better. When they need to probably, just throw out the window the salary cap if that's what it takes. But, I mean, I'm sure they'll move pieces around. They'll get rid of somebody to bring in somebody and kind of stay in their comfort zone, and they probably make those decisions based on the revenue coming in, as every team probably does.
Well, that's a great point. Yeah, I mean, their team payroll is going to be based on what you have coming in. Some have more coming in than others.
Right.
Especially like the Cubs say they don't have any money. The Ricketts are full of crap, but that's a different story as well. So that kind of gives you perspective of if that were to go through for Major League Baseball of a floor and a lower threshold for the luxury tax of where teams stand. So just for, we're in the Midwest, we're Cubs Cardinals fans. Cardinals payroll this year is $168 million. That's respectable. I have nothing wrong with that. The Cubs payroll is $143 million. And that's including the contracts they still have to pay and everything else. So that's respectable too. So the
Cardinals aren't paying Arenado yet.
Right, because they give up Cracker Jacks and a bag of popcorn for him.
Right.
But what else I dug into, and I thought this was fascinating, maybe it's just me, but it also broke down the 26-man roster payroll. So week by week, it produced a amount of team payroll for the 26-man roster. And I just thought this was fascinating as well, because this surprised me. So would you like to guess who has the highest team payroll, 26-man roster team payroll right now? I'll give you a hint. It's not the Dodgers. It's not the Dodgers.
No.
No, it's the Phillies.
The Phillies, okay.
$161 million is what they're paying to 26 guys on the field right now.
So
Dodgers are at 100.
So that changes week to week.
Right, it changes week to week.
So that changes.
Yeah.
Right.
Dodgers are at 140. Red Sox at 139. Astros at 136. Cardinals at 134. So that kind of surprised me, but also showed me that the Cardinals team payroll was 168.
Right.
So the guys they got on the field right now, this very week, compared to what they have for total team payroll, was only $34 million difference.
Right.
That's not too bad.
No.
Now, part of that is the Dodgers had a ton of money on injured reserve.
Right.
A ton of money is still on the books from previous years that they're having to pay. Let's talk about the lower tier, the 5 lowest right now. And then when I read these 5 off, you're going to understand why they do not win a ball game. The team that just lost 19 in a row, the Baltimore Orioles, have the lowest 26-man payroll at $18 million, 18.5.
Wow.
Rangers at 18.9. Marlins at 26.4. The Indians at 27.7. And the Pirates at 31.2. So old Shelty's got close to the bottom there of what he's working with. But the Orioles, you're going to lose 19 in a row if you don't pay some guys to come in there. I mean, even the Cubs right now are at $60 million.
Right, for sure. Yeah.
So.
And can't win a game.
Correct.
So the Orioles are actually smarter right now.
Yeah, they're not spending as much money, and they still don't win a game. That's a great point. Can't win. League average, Kyle, is $81 million for 26-man payroll right now. So that's interesting to think of. Okay, you're at 81 for on a league average for a 26-man roster.
Right.
But you want to be at 100 as a team payroll all the time. That's where the numbers, I'm like, wait a minute here. Something doesn't add up to me. If you're at 81, but that, of course the 81 fluctuates week to week because they do that.
Yeah, I was going to say, are they going to average that across the year, or are they going to have to, just bring people in at the end of the, last month of the season, regardless of being in a playoff hunt, just to reach that 100 million mark?
Right.
Or,
that's
how are they going to?
I think that's the average for the week. So, it could be up to 105 one week, 110, and vary. I'm sure at the beginning of the year, the first few weeks of the season when everybody's healthy, coming out of spring training, that league average for 26-man roster is a little higher than that. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, and then for sure. And then are you docked if your big guy that's making $25 million goes on the injured reserve for 60 days, 90 days?
So that's not included in the 26-man roster.
That is or isn't?
Is not.
So I guess what I'm saying is if they don't maintain that average, do they get docked at the end of the year?
That's a great question. I don't know, but that's the average right now.
I don't think it'll go through, honestly.
No.
But if they did, that's one of the big questions I would have.
Me too. But it's also nice to dive into it a little bit and give our listeners and fans some numbers so they can kind of see what we're looking at and see what we're thinking about and where your team stands. We may have some, White Sox fans out there and want to know, hey, where are we at? Well, you're at $141 million, and you're walking away with a division title. Congratulations.
Right.
You also traded for Craig Kimbrell, who's seen his ERA go up by 5 points, but that's just a different story too. Hey, we're going to come back. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We'll talk 500 home run club as Miguel Cabrera, a young man who started with the Marlins, reached out this week, and we'll talk about who could be the next we see hit that, if any. And we'll see what your thoughts are from Kyle Jerome, because I think we're going to differ a little bit on that one. But we'll take a quick break. Be right back here on 103.5 ESPN Radio and at dingerbats.com. Don't forget to join our Facebook group, Full Count the Podcast. You can see our live video show each week at 7 a.m. We'll see you in just a minute.
Today's episode of Full Count is brought to you by Ford of Tuscola.
Check out the all-new Ford of Tuscola. It's a small-town feel with great big deals. Pre-owned vehicles starting at $24.95. Online at fordoftuscola.com or call 217-253-3353. Welcome back, everybody, to Full Count. Keith Gibson, Kyle Drone with you here on a Saturday morning in August as we wind down the summer. We get ready for next weekend, Labor Day weekend already next weekend, Kyle. Can you believe that?
I cannot. It's this year's gone so fast.
It has. After last year of 2020, the pandemic and COVID kind of drug. 2021 has sped through without a doubt. But let's talk about speeding through. A guy who hasn't sped through and doesn't speed much at all around the base pass. That is one Miguel Cabrera, a guy who has put 18 years, I believe it is, in the major leagues, coming through the Marlins organization as a young 19-year-old. And I remember when he came up, too. Young right fielder, had some speed, a lot thinner than what he is now, but hit with power and just a young phenom, if you will, and the guy has never quit. Just a pure hitter who has power, can drive the ball the other way, and do a lot of things. Joined the 500 home run club this week, and in a Tiger uniform in Toronto, and I was happy to see it. I know it was something that he really wanted. He's only like 30 hits away from the 3,000 hit club, too. So it brings me to a thought that, man, I started looking into this, too. Boy, I did a lot of work this week. Of who is next closest. But let's start with Miggy. What's your thoughts on Miggy?
Oh, just one of the greatest right-handed bats of our era anyway, and probably have to put him up there of all time. He's got the last Triple Crown in the modern era, which nowadays is pretty much unheard of, and that we may never see again. To be able to put those numbers together like that. But yeah, I mean, he's always been exciting. Power to all fields, hits a lot of his home runs, even his 500th to right center field, which is, where a lot of guys are more pull power. He can drive the ball to all fields, and I think that's how he's able to get to 500.
Agree with that. It's just, I love watching him. He has fun too. And that's one of the best things about watching Cabrera play is he's out there having fun each and every day, but he wants to be on the field each and every day too.
For sure. He's always messing with runners on the bases and stuff, pulling their shirt out, pulling batting gloves out of their pocket. It's hilarious.
First ballot Hall of Famer in your eyes?
In my eyes, yes.
Me too. I think he could be the next one and maybe the last one for a while that when his time comes could be I don't think he'll be unanimous. I don't. I think a couple writers will probably be silly with it, but there's no doubt in my mind that he's a first ballot Hall of Famer and voted in.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, you're right about the writers. You'll have a couple that just want to get their names mentioned on why they didn't vote. Because was it, Jeter was not unanimous, right?
Right.
And Mariano Rivera, well-deserved, was the only one, may go down as the only one ever to be unanimous first ballot Hall of Famer.
And it was well-deserved, yes, because I don't think we'll ever see a closer like him again, longevity and everything. I don't think we'll see another player like Jeter for a very, very long time either. But you say that, and everything goes in circles, so we know that. So let's talk who's next up among active players. Your boy Albert. 23 shy of 700. He leads all active players with 677 as of today. That's a pretty good milestone if he gets to 700. And I think he could do it if he plays another year. I really do. I mean, he's had kind of resurgence in L.A.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely has a chance. It may take him 2 years. But that last year, he'll just be knocking out 5 or 6 just to get there. But it all depends on where he goes and how many at-bats he gets.
If they bring in the DH next year, I think he gets to 700.
I would agree.
So, because he can play anywhere he wants and get enough at bats.
Right.
Behind him, Nelson Cruz, now a Tampa Bay Ray, traded the deadline from Minnesota to Tampa Bay. 40 years old, sitting at 443 currently. I don't see it. I mean, I know the guy can hit. I know he's getting age, but, man, he's going to have to play until he's 40, on average, 42. I mean, at least 2 more years if he wants to try to get there. Now, he's had some 40 home run seasons, and I think he can still do it. I think right now he's sitting at 20, 24, 25 for the year. Does he do it? Is he the next one?
Mm-hmm. Man, I think he's going to give it his best effort. If somebody will sign him and he can play, I mean, he does a tremendous job of staying ready, staying healthy, taking care of himself. So, I mean, he's got a good shot. He's got a legitimate shot. But, you know, everything has to align for him.
When you say align, that means the DH has to, once again, become both leagues to open it up for him and Albert both to be able to get enough at bats. Agreed?
Yeah, I would probably agree with that.
All right, next on the list, most active. Well, let's not next on the list, but let's just go down here. Some guys that I thought had a shot. I want to get your yay or nay on these guys. Giancarlo Stanton has 334 home runs currently. Only 31. Has played for 12 years.
No,
Can he get to 500?
I don't think so, man. He gets injured way too much. And on top of it, he's just streaky as any player I've seen. I'd bet the under on that.
Okay, I like that. Here is your boy, your number one boy, Michael Trout. He's at 310, 29 years old. He's played 11 seasons. He would only need 190 to get there. And he's on a long enough contract to get there. Can he stay healthy enough to get there is the question. Does Mike Trout hit 500?
Yeah, no doubt. I think, and that's not, I mean, it is because I'm a fan, but, you know, I think he's learning more and more what he has to stay away from to stay on the ball field. You know, he's got to tone it down a little bit. I mean, I love the hustle. I love the go all out, the way he plays, but he just, you know, not just him, anybody, your body just can't stand that. And, you know, this simple injury was, you know, scoring on a base hit, you know, rounding third. And he just thought it was, you know, a little twinge in his calf. Turns out he's out, 60 plus days. I think he's going to learn that he doesn't have to take that extra base every time unless it's a, you know, for sure thing, or he can do it 80% speed, something like that, which his 80% is faster than a lot of guys anyway, you know. So I think, you know, being in the league as long as he's been in, he wants to be on the field. You can tell, I don't know if you watched the Little League, you know, game where he was there. He was just frustrated. You could tell it in his eyes, you know, in the way he spoke, that he wanted to be out there, and I think he's going to make those adjustments. And, you know, he may move to a corner in the next few years or something, you know, less demanding on his body. But, yeah, I think he's there, and I think he's got a good shot at 600.
Wow. Okay. I could see that too. I think you made a great point there, Kyle, in the fact that moving him to a corner may keep him healthier longer. And I think about that, and I think that's a true case. He's not going to finish his career in center. It's just a simple fact.
Right. Yeah, I can't see that.
All right.
And he's going to have to cut down the stolen bases and the attempts. I mean, if his injuries continue to be leg injuries, then you got to just slow it down.
Yep. Next on the list, MVP, very long contract. Bryce Harper, 256, 28 years old. This is his 10th season. Does Harper get to 500?
250. So he's just got to average 25 over the next whatever. Yeah, I think he's got a good shot. It's going to be right there. And he's got to stay on the field. Same thing, healthy. But he's shown a lot of his older form this year, I think. And I think playing on a contender is going to feed him a little bit more. So I think he's got a legitimate shot.
I agree with you on that one and Trout as well. I think Trout gets to 500. I'm not sure about 600, but I'll go the 500 on Trout. Harper, I think I agree with you that I think it's going to be close. I think the older he gets, the more he realizes it was fun to play reckless and with no abandon at a younger age, but now he's got to think about longevity and, trying to win a championship. I think he gets to 500, but it's in his final season. Kind of a Miguel Cabrera type where Miggy said he's going to play for 2 more years. He's here. He's done it. So it's going to be one of those type too. So anyway, all right. I got one more and that I think has a legitimate shot. Then I want to talk about some other guys who kind of are on that fringe for you. Let's talk Manny Machado, former shortstop, now third baseman for the Padres. He's got 245. He's 28 years old, same as Harper, and in his 10th season. Machado's not really had a whole lot of injury problems. Does he hit the 500, though?
I think you're at the similar situation as Harper. I think if he can go steady as it is, 25, 30 home runs a year over the next 10 years, which means he's got to be on the field injury free. I think it'll be close. I think it's going to be tough. I can see him ending up just shy of it, though.
So here's why I say I'm going to say no on Harper. I'm looking back at this. I'm going to say no on Harper, and this is why. I don't think he plays another 10 seasons. And I'm the same way with Machado. I don't think he plays another 10. If he plays 8 and has a couple, now if he breaks out and has another 35, 40 home run year, he might get there. But I just don't see these guys, they're going to have to average, as you said, 25 homers a year to get there.
But, your age 28 to 32 are supposed to be, the peak of your career. So they could easily, both those guys could hit 150 home runs to almost 200 home runs in a 4 to 5 year span. And that knocks out a big chunk of that.
It does. You're exactly right. So health, I think we've agreed, is key to everything. So here's a couple guys that I threw out there. Just kind of honorable mention guys I thought maybe have a shot. And the last two, I really want to get your opinion on because I think they're two that may have the best shot at doing this. First is Nolan Arenado. He's got 260. 9 seasons, he's only 30. Played in Coors Field a lot. I don't know how many he's got for the Cardinals this year. I think it's low 20s? Right around that?
Mid 20s. I think it's 26, I think.
Okay. Is he a guy that could do that?
Yeah, same thing. Stay on the field, steady as it goes. If he can get, if he can have a big few seasons in between there and then just stay around the 25 the rest of the way out, then I think it's possible. But it's going to be on the fringe, just like, the other two.
Chris Bryant, sitting at 165, 29 years old, only 7 seasons in the bigs.
Yeah.
Can he get there?
No, I don't think so.
Great, I agree with you on that one wholeheartedly.
I don't think so.
I just don't think he has the swing to put up big numbers for consecutive years, 35, 40. I think he's more of a 20, 25 homer guy. He's going to hit you some 25, 30 doubles. That's the type of player that Chris Bryant's kind of become. Even though he had a big 2016, I just don't see it either. All right. So let's get to these two, because these two put up some numbers that they're young. The first has only been playing for 3 seasons. He's age 22, and he's got 74 homers as of now, and I'm sure he'll be over that 75 to 80 by the time, if not 85, by the time the season's done. Fernando Tatis Jr. We're 3 years in, and we're looking at averaging over 25 homers. If he stays healthy, he's got a 14-year deal. Can he do it?
Yeah, if he stays healthy, he's going to have those bigger power number years in his late 20s, early 30s. And they're already, making the adjustment of maybe putting him in the outfield a little bit, saving him, for the long term, which I think is smart. I love watching him play shortstop, and I don't think you take shortstop away from him completely, at least not yet. And I don't think they're ready to make that move in the next 3 to 5 years. I think he's still good to play shortstop then, but give him some off days out there. Let him get comfortable, let him get some rest while still having his bat in the lineup, and DH him here and there, that kind of thing. I think they're going to manage, because he's had these injuries early in his career, and we know what it's from. It's from not overplaying. It's just the same thing as Trout, just going hard every day, and you're going to have injuries if you play like that. So I mean, I think, it's obviously way early to tell, but I think he's got a chance. And I think last half of his career, he's in the corner outfield position.
Agreed on that wholeheartedly. I think he's a guy that will get to 500 as long as he stays healthy. And that's the biggest thing with all these guys. I mean, it's a testament of a lot of these guys who are in the 500 home run club is they never got injured. They never had to take a long periods of time off. That's the only thing I worry about Trout. He's had so many injuries here lately that him staying healthy. So the last one of the most exciting players in baseball, and I miss him on the field now, Ronald Acuna Jr. Fourth season this year, 105 homers, only 23 years old. He's already got a 40-homer season under his belt. Is he a guy who can hit 500?
Oh, absolutely. I think of all of them, because his swing, I mean, he's not Miggy, obviously, but his power to all fields is what really is amazing. I don't know if you remember him in the home run derby a few years back. He was hitting in home run derby opposite field bombs.
Right. I do. Yeah.
And, guys don't do that in home run derbies. I mean, you're getting BP fastballs.
Right.
It was like he was taking a BP before the game, just working on stuff. But he just legitimately has that crazy power to the opposite field. And I think those are the types of players that have more of a shot than, guys like Harper, who's dead pull. His opposite field is center field, if that, and that's just because he got beat a little bit on a fastball and has the power to get it out. But yeah, Acuna, same thing. He plays hard. He plays a hard position. I think later they'll move him to a corner, rest him up, keep him healthy, and, he'll learn as he goes as well.
I think it's great points there, Kyle, and I couldn't agree with you more. I think out of all those, if I had to put my money on one guy, now I want to see how he comes back from this ACL, of course, next spring and that. But I think if one guy I had to put my money on would be Acuna, just for the simple reasons you stated, that he goes every direction, hits with power, and he has fun too. He's one of those guys that's good for the game of baseball. So
definitely.
What did make me feel old though was looking at these and realizing that I remember when Stanton came up with the Marlins. That was 12 years ago. And Trout came up, and Harper and Machado, and I'm like, holy cow, these guys have been around over a decade already. And I'm like, I'm getting old quickly.
I tell you what, now look at the birth dates of the stars.
Oh, I did, and I didn't like it either.
They're born in the 2000s now.
Right. It's kind of crazy, but yeah, Tatis and Acuna both, I think, were born 99, 98, 99. I'm like, I graduated then. Come on now. But hey, we'll take a quick break. We're gonna come back and we're gonna dive into Yachty signing a 1-year extension and saying it's his final year with the Cardinals here on Full Count. You're listening to us on DingerBats.com and on 103.5 ESPN Radio.
Kester Homes is your full-service real estate team. They work all of Champaign County and a full 60-mile radius around. What really sets Kyle, Tiffany, and their team apart is they work with home buyers, home sellers, and build new construction homes. So they really are seeing all angles of the real estate industry, from existing homes, investment properties, and new construction. Contact Kester Homes at 217-390-5953 or visit online at kesterhomes.com. That's KOESTER homes.com. Kester Homes is a licensed real estate broker with the Keller Williams, the Real Estate Center of Illinois.
Welcome back to another edition of Full Count. Keith Gibson, Kyle Drone, bringing it to you. We've talked about salary cap and thresholds for the luxury tax here in this show. We've talked 500 home run club, and it's interesting to think, Kyle, of some of those young guys who can do it. And
yeah, we were at the break. I was just thinking that we forgot about Vlad Jr. What are your thoughts there? I mean,
well, Vladdy's a guy who with the numbers he's produced, I mean, he's hit 36 already this season. And I looked it up at the break there, and it's 60 home runs so far in his career, but he's only 22.
Right.
So, he's switched to first base already. And in my eyes, yeah, he's definitely a guy who can average 25 homers a year healthy and get to that 500. He reminds me a lot of Miggy type because he can hit both ways, all across the field, too. He's just not a dead pull hitter.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, he gets a little bit of that from his dad.
Yes.
But his raw power, and he's still figuring things out. I think he's a guy that can run 5 or 6 years with 35, 40 home runs, and then can average the 25 or below at the end of a season, and not be as stressful trying to get there. Obviously got to stay healthy, but I think he's got the work ethic, and he's definitely got the power. So we'll see.
He's got the pedigree. It's in the genes. That's a great point.
Yeah, for sure.
Great point there. But, it's kind of interesting to see. It's kind of like the 300 wins. Will we ever see another 300-win pitcher? Will we ever see another 500 home run club member? It'll be.
Well, I think 500 is a lot easier than 300 when you're pulling guys, 5 innings, and you're relying on the bullpen. Your guys have got to score enough for you in 5 innings for you to get the win.
You're exactly right. Great point. Maybe we'll discuss that next week. Maybe I'll grab some stats and we can discuss 300 game winners and see who's close there, and we'll go that next week.
There's your homework assignment.
All right. Oh, homework. I never was good at that. But anyway, hey, let's talk your boy Yadi. Happy to see you signed a 1-year, $10 million extension with the Cardinals this last week. Rightfully so, but he also came out and said 2022 will be his final season in a Cardinal uniform and a uniform period. We talked about it last week. I think you said 225. I said 220, somewhere in there. I was surprised it was 1 year. I was, but I think he's got to that point where he wants to go out on a high note. Agreed?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the young guys are starting to play a little bit better. They didn't have, quite the year they wanted with pitching injuries. And, I think he wants one more year, to give it a run. I think, we got Arenado, you got Goldie, him. I'd love to see Waino back for at least one more year. And I like that he gets to decide. He's saying it right now. Last year, next year, he's been able to decide, what he's how he's gonna go out, because it would have been terrible had they not made a deal this year and it would have ended badly, because I don't think he was going to play for another team.
Agree on that. And I think that's a great point. You're making a lot of great points tonight. But no, I agree with you. I'm glad he's getting to go out on his own terms, and it will be one heck of a farewell tour for him next year, because he is loved by so many in the game, and rightfully so. Even as a Cub fan, as a diehard as I am, and besides the time the ball stuck to his chest protector, besides that, I have much respect for Yadi and what he's done to change the position as well since he came in to the game. And so, it's amazing what kind of catcher he is. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer in my mind. If anybody is unanimous, I could see him being the next one. And there's no reason that anybody should vote against that he's not a Hall of Famer. Period.
No, I agree, but you know how it is. There's going to be one or two. It's so I think any major leaguer going in should just not even think about that. Just be grateful to go in, as they all are, and I don't think that he'll be unanimous, but he very well could be, or he deserves to be. But so many other players do as well. I just think there's going to be that one rider that wants to get his name mentioned.
So let's talk about it. So Yadi's now signed up, ready to go for 2022.
Yep.
You've got another guy who's on a 1-year deal, his battery mate, the guy he's made many starts with, and Adam Wainwright. Does Mozeliak in the front office now need to lock him up for one more year? And do those two go out as a swan song together and make it the final farewell tour for both of them?
I don't see how you can't. I mean, it's good for baseball. It's great for the Cardinals. And, you can't deny. I mean, it'd be different if Waino was, 3-15, but I mean, he's the best pitcher on the staff.
Right. He's not throwing up John Lester numbers.
No.
Great trade, by the way. But anyway, no, I agree. I agree with you. I think Waino, they should just give Waino what he wants. Give Waino what he wants. If it's 1 year and $15 million, I don't care. The guy has earned it and every single bit in a Cardinal uniform, and deserves it, as he's been a leader, a captain, and a great clubhouse guy. Great for the city, great for the organization, great for everything that it is to have a Cardinals across the birds of the bat on the jersey, just like Yachty. And so I hope that they can go out together, and I hope that gets done sooner than later. Let me say that.
Yeah, I think it will. I think it will.
So the big question is, will the third part of that trifecta come back to St. Louis after this season and make it a triple swan song? Well, if the DH comes into the National League during the CBA negotiations, does Mr. Pujols come back, and then, him and Yachty are best friends. Him and Waino are close as well. They're all three of them are real tight. Do they all have a farewell tour together? You want to talk about some parties?
That's such a tough one, because Albert's going to want to get his at-bats. He's going to chase 700. He says it's not about personal stats, but I think at this point, I mean, you would be crazy to not be wanting to get to 700. So it's going to come down to, are the Cardinals going to give him those at-bats, or are they going to try to win a pennant? You know what I mean?
I do, and I thought you might go there. I think you can do both with Albert. I really do, because I think he's still got enough in the tank as a hitter that he can put some offense up for you. It's no different. I mean, better than Matt Carpenter. But you've got.
He won't hit 500, by the way.
No. No. He's lucky he's hitting above the Mendoza line right now, which is 200, ladies and gentlemen, for batting average. But I think you can, if the DH becomes a natural thing in the National League, I think you can put Albert in that DH slot every single day. You put him behind Arenado and Goldschmidt, he's going to see some pitches because they're not going to want to pitch to those two. Yep. And then you have Yachty behind him, who could, if he gets on base, I mean, there's not much speed there putting them back-to-back. Let's be honest. But Yachty's a guy who can single the ball to left, single the ball to right, and drive some runs in too by that. I think it would be a perfect fit if and I hate to say this because I don't want to see it. I don't. But the Cubs aren't going to contend for the next 2 to 3 years. I've just got that in my mind, period, now. So, but if the Cardinals can contend, I think, with Albert in the lineup, I wholeheartedly believe they can do that. And
It'll
not take bats away.
I mean, I guess a lot of it's going to depend on what's available on the market. And, if they feel like they can better it, maybe if Albert takes less and plays more of a part-time DH and first a little bit or something. I don't know. I mean, I want to believe it, but I just don't know how the relationship is there anymore. And not with the players, but the front office. And, Schilt, I don't know, he's going to have a say in it as well. And I don't know. I'm not saying that he doesn't like Pujols or doesn't think, I have no idea what Schilt's thinking. I'm just saying there's a lot of differences now than when Albert left. So it'll be interesting to see. And then, of course, you got to have the DH voted in for that to happen. And I think if anything, the new rules, I think that is one that has a good shot.
Oh, I think so too. I think if it's probably the most probable of all the new rules that they're wanting to implement. So, all right, we'll take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll touch base just quickly on the AL and NL playoff races. We'll touch that, and then we'll make the call the bullpen right here on Full Count. You're listening to us at dingerbats.com and on 103.5 ESPN Radio.
Today's episode of Full Count is brought to you by Bees Trees.
Bees Trees, your local ISA certified arborist with over 10 years experience, specializing in tree removal, tree trimming, and with free estimates. Call Greg Miller of Bees Trees today at 217-260-4551. Welcome back to Full Count. Keith Gibson, Kyle Drone with you. Thank you for joining us here on this Saturday morning at dingerbats.com and on 103.5 ESPN Radio. Hey, in case you haven't heard yet, you can also watch the show. That's right, we have the show on video and our Facebook group, Full Count the Podcast on Facebook. So make sure you join the group and watch us there, or you can go to YouTube and, of course, follow us and see the show on, just look up Full Count the Podcast, and you can watch the show on YouTube as well. Download it, watch it, listen to it. We got to give them all kinds of options now, Kyle Drone, to hear our voices and opinions. That most of them don't matter, but I think they do sometimes.
No, we love the opinions. I think we need a GoFundMe program so I can have a setup like you do, and I don't have to work in this dark basement.
You know what's nice about this setup is my wife allows me to have this. So I'm very grateful for that. I've got the clubhouse lounges where I record this each and every week. And, you know, what they don't see is I've got a love seat and a bar and a recliner and a nice TV. And, you know, it's a nice setup here, and I'm appreciative of that. And I've got my Dingerbats behind me, of course. And so, I've got a great wife, and I'll never say I don't because she is an amazing one. But yes, we do need to get you a setup. But hey, quick touch base on the races. We usually talk about them every week. The Reds have taken over the second spot in the NL wild card over the Padres, who were just struggling. Fired pitching coach Larry Rothschild. Surprise, surprise. I'm not a big fan of Larry, but they've taken that over. The Braves are hot and kind of extending their lead in the East. The AL's kind of staying as is. I mean, no big surprises there right now yet. And Yankees have been real red hot. They're 10-1 with Anthony Rizzo, by the way. Just like to make that statement. And I think Riz is having a good time in New York. So maybe he signs back there. It'll be interesting to see. But, so interesting to see what all that brings out. We've got, 4 weeks left?
Yep, right at.
I'm excited. I'm going to go to see a Red Sox game here coming up in a couple weeks with my old man and a good friend, Ford of Tuscola, Doug Bonzak, and that we thank them for being one of our great sponsors since day one of Full Count. So thanks to Doug and Bob, Olteen, and the entire crew down at Ford of Tuscola there for doing that. But, so, hey, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to tell you a little bit about the golf outing coming up. And I'll tell you what we're doing for it on October 16th. And then we'll wrap up the show with the Call of the Bullpen right here on Full Count at dingerbats.com and on 103.5 ESPN Radio.
It's the second half of the Major League Baseball season, and you should be tuning in to Full Count every Saturday morning at 7 a.m. on 103.5 ESPN Radio. Join hosts Keith Gibson and Kyle Drone as they analyze and break down the Major League Baseball season, talk the upcoming trade deadline, and bring in special guests to discuss the state of the game. It's Full Count every Saturday morning, 7 a.m. on 103.5 ESPN Radio.
Wrapping up another edition of Full Count here at dingerbats.com on 103.5 ESPN Radio. Keith Gibson, Kyle Drone with you. Thank you for joining us again here on this Saturday as we make the call to the bullpen, calling in the closer. Just a quick reminder that we do have a golf outing. We've got a couple of spots still open if you want a team benefiting the Eastern Illinois Food Bank and feeding our kids of Central Illinois. October 16th at Iron Horse Golf Club in Tuscola. Contact us or join the Facebook group. That's where you can find all the information right there for more info. We've had some great sponsors. I mean, you want to talk about some swag bag, Kyle Drone. We have got some great gifts for everybody playing. Full bag of stuff from koozies to golf towels, T-shirts, ball markers, a little bit of everything going in there. So it's exciting. We've had some great support from area and local businesses, and so I'm excited to get a great day of golf in as well. And you and I get to play together, so it's always a good day.
Oh, yeah, I'm excited. Pops is coming up with me, so we'll have a good day on the golf course.
Boy, it's going to
raise the money for a good cause.
That's right. It's going to be scary. Your old man and my old man in the same spot on the same day. That could get dangerous.
Yeah, I think Dad is driver 5-iron the entire. Doesn't matter.
Well, that's all right. That's about what I am, so we're good. We're good. Him and I'll get along well. We're about the same build, too, so we're good there, too, as well. But no, if you want some more information, just follow our Facebook group, Full Count the Podcast, and you can get that, or email me at fullcounthost@gmail.com. Anything to close up the show, Kyle Drone?
No, I'm good, man.
All right, for my tag team partner, good friend, and owner of Dingerbats, Kyle Drone. I am Keith Gibson. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. We always love your feedback. Give it back to us. Let us know what you want to hear us talk about, or just that you're listening, because we love to hear feedback. All right, we'll see you next Saturday morning, 7 a.m. for Full Count, the podcast at dingerbats.com and on 103.5 ESPN Radio.